finally like I know personally, like I've never been this interested in the cabinet picks and researching the people and listening to what they have to say.
The more people are tuned into their own self-governance, it's a win for all of us, I think. The more people that know what's going on, just makes a better world we live in.
I think it's going to be great. I mean, I think it's great. So, yeah, I know we're going to be just discussing local, but it's still pretty exciting to see all this stuff. So,
well, it affects local because he keeps stealing all of our people.
Well, then that's the thing. So we need, I think that would be good. At some point, we probably should discuss like the process for how these people get replaced.
The waterfall of special elections being triggered.
Yeah. So because there's depending on the seat, like we'll determine a special election when, or an appointment, or all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So. For replacement.
What's going on in Broward, Abby?
Oh, there's Broward's up to its usual shenanigans as they often do.
Are they still counting votes?
No. I mean, I don't think there was anything super close in Broward like the recount in the one House district in Palm Beach. There were some Republicans that overperformed in Broward. Herb Vargas, who ran against Nan Rich for the District 1 County Commission seat, like he did better than Trump in that district. Like,
wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He did better than Chris Eddy did against Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Wow.
So, and I think that just goes to show that district is heavily becoming more Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
He has a Hispanic name, and people are going to vote for familiarity.
Yeah.
And so, when
Guilty.
we think about future races and our involvement with the party and like figuring out like who to run where,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to be strategic about that and not just throw a warm body into a race.
What, that doesn't work? And then get upset when they don't win?
I do wish we would have done that in Skidmore's seat, though. I was really thinking about that, of going over the numbers and everything. Like
Skidmore is
State House 92?
Further north.
No, west.
West Boca up to the north.
So like it
Del
adjacent
Rey.
to Peggy's.
Yeah, she's 91, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
and then it goes up, and then so it would be like adjacent to like 90 and 91 going up the western portion.
I'm just mentioning it because it's like going through the numbers. I would have loved to have data on that race since it's an open seat next term.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It would have been interesting. Sorry.
And then just a little bit of, drama, more drama in Broward. The Broward legislative delegation met on Friday. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, but tell our audience.
So the Broward delegation is all of the state level electeds in Broward. So there's I don't know how many. There's a couple two or three senators, state senators, and I think it's 14 total people. So like 11 House reps and 3 senators, something like that. And they elect who's going to be like the chair and the vice chair of the delegation, and they're kind of like the representatives of Broward as a whole when they're up in Tallahassee. So, and I know in Palm Beach County, you guys kind of trade off every year. Like you have
Joe Costello's it this year.
You have a Democrat, you have a Republican. Well, there's one Republican in Broward, and that's Chip LaMarca, my representative. And he is in his 4th and final term as a state house rep. He's starting his 4th term, got reelected. And he's never been nominated and voted on to be, leadership for the delegation. And they did their nominations and their votes for the 2025 legislative session, and it's 2 Democrats, of course. And Senator Jason Pizzo, who, breaking news, he's going to be our guest on the December 5th live stream.
Dun, dun, dun.
He brought forth a motion to nominate Chip as I can't remember if it was chair or vice chair. I think it was chair for the 26th legislative session. So, over a year from now. And all pandemonium broke out in this meeting.
All hell broke loose.
It wasn't it wasn't on the agenda for 26. They were voting on 25. And, one representative left the meeting because they had a call and they lost quorum. So they pushed it to next month's meeting. And I got tagged on Twitter, X, whatever, about this whole thing because, obviously I'm active in the party. And I actually got a phone call from that representative on Saturday afternoon explaining, like, I had this call, this wasn't agendaed, and as someone who has been dealing with a lack of agenda and a lack of proper procedures by their chair for the last year plus, like, I can sympathize with that.
Yeah.
I like when rules are followed. Rules are there
Same.
for a reason. And if we're going to have a vote on something...
If the rules are there for a reason, then they are.
But I say that,
Sometimes they're not.
and just a little history. Chip was on the county commission for, I think he got elected in 2010 and served until 2018. He never was given the opportunity to serve as the mayor of Broward County.
Seriously?
They never gave Chip the opportunity to serve on
Anything.
board that they appointed to their detriment.
Right.
Because, as we know, the Republicans are the majority in Tallahassee.
Exactly.
And he could be so instrumental then and obviously
Now.
in helping the county in Tallahassee.
It's
in
the literal
They don't
definition.
care.
It's the literal definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yes, because they don't care. They don't care enough about their constituents to make the best choices for them.
And I mean, it's one Republican in the entire county.
Just give the guy
who works on a bipartisan
Oh,
cooperative basis.
yeah.
he's probably one of the easiest members to work with. He's such an easy guy. He's my representative, and he lives in my town, and we have a good relationship. But it's like, how can you not get along with Chip LaMarca?
How can you not support him?
So,
Come on,
anyways,
Democrats.
that's the drama going on in Broward, and we'll see what happens at their December meeting if they
We'll update you. We'll
Yeah.
update you guys after that.
Yeah.
In our
So,
next episode.
Other than that, we had the grand opening of the youth library wing in Lighthouse Point on Saturday. That was great.
Yay.
It was the final project of our 2019 bond. So there was the fire station, the public works building, the John Trudell Community Center, and the youth wing of the library. So it was the final closeout of the bond. We actually came in under budget.
Hey,
Really?
Well, we had that question on the ballot about the leftover bond funds.
Oh, that's right.
And reallocating that to stormwater projects. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was fun. Little ribbon cutting.
Yeah.
Ribbon
that's
cuttings are fun. All right, Jess, what you got?
Palm Beach County, we had a runoff between Ann Gerwig and Catherine Waldron for District 93. Ann Gerwig did win that seat, so that was a huge flip.
It was a flip.
Yep.
For Republicans in Palm Beach County.
I
It
think
went to a
it's-
recount, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
one of the only ones in the state that's flipped?
I think it was the one seat that the Republicans picked up this election.
Because I think we held all of our seats. We didn't
We
lose
did.
any,
Mhm.
and we picked up one, and
Yep.
that's the one we picked up
Yep.
in Palm Beach County.
Of all places.
It
We're
makes
on the
me-
move.
It
We're on
makes
the
me
move.
so sorry, real quick. It makes me very just grinds my gears when they show the map of the colors of the red and the blue, and it's blue Palm Beach County. Because I'm like, we are
But
not.
you're not as dark blue as Broward.
I know, but it doesn't show color gradings. It just shows red and blue, and it says blue for Palm Beach County just because of that 5,500 vote that went to Kamala instead of Trump. Thank you, Stu. I just grinds my gears just a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry,
It's
continue.
tough. That's all I had for Palm Beach County. We had a town hall at the REC meeting last night, so if you were able to attend that, you got to hear from the candidates that attended. Be sure to vote December 11th if you are an REC member. Vote for me, your next vice chair for the Republican Party of Palm Beach County. So that's kind of the updates that I have, and that's kind of what we're focused on in Palm Beach County, so that we can hit the ground running for municipals and set up a good foundation to get us into the 2026 cycle.
Yeah. So if you are
One-
not
Oh, go
an
ahead.
REC member, you should become an REC member.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of the REC talk, right before I walked into the studio tonight, I got the meeting notice email for the Broward REC's election meeting, which is going to be held on Monday, December 2nd at 7 p.m. In Pompano. And as far as I know, well, I am definitely not running for anything.
I was gonna
Yes.
say that
I
will be
am
your
not-
last night then, right?
I will hand over the checkbook at
that night.
meeting. Yes.
Whoever wins treasurer, you're gonna be like, here you go.
As far as I know our current chair is running for re-election, as is the vice chair, and then there's two new members that are, running as part of their slate for secretary and treasurer, because
All right.
I'm not running for re-election, and neither is the secretary. So
Mm.
I have not heard of anybody else that's planning to run, which is unfortunate. But I have to focus on Lighthouse Point. So
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Just a couple of things happening in Boca specifically. It's the time of year where fun stuff is going on. So I encourage you to check out, all of you who don't live in Boca, you live in Boynton, any of the other municipalities. All of the tree lightings are coming up, parades. So I know the Boca tree lighting is on Saturday in Meisner Park. And then the Christmas parade, which you might see some familiar faces in the parade this year.
Do you
will
have
be
a float?
I don't personally have a float, but I'm overseeing a float for my kids' dance studio. as well as my daughter's swim team is in the parade. So it's going to be a family affair this year. So we're all going to be in the
So
parade.
my office is on Federal, and I have a balcony.
Oh, no! I'm going to take you up on that next year.
So I'll take a picture of it.
Okay, please do. Thank you. Yeah.
Front row seats, man.
Those seats, that's the best seat in the house then. Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, we
No,
always
the
love
best
going
seat in the house was when I was mayor.
Well, exactly, when you got to sit.
And was in the first
car.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I
That's very true.
think I get to sit in a car for our Keeper Days parade in February.
Oh, that's so fun. I know. It's I think the
Last year
parades
it
are
was
fun.
so cold. It was freezing last year.
It was cold last year. Yeah, it was. I do remember that. It was cold and long.
Yeah.
It got long. So so the parade, and then there's there's a whole host of things happening in Boca. And then also, as Jessica mentioned, there's municipal elections. So Boca is not having any municipal elections. It's our off year this year. But Boynton is gonna have
that's getting spicy.
I see.
if you want to pop some popcorn and watch a municipal knockdown drag out, it's going to be in Boynton. all of the 3 seats that are up have candidates running. Some of them have multiple candidates. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be bringing you all the tea, I am sure.
I know Coconut Creek has municipals this spring. I'm trying to think who. Deerfield. I feel like Hillsborough Beach has municipals every single year, but that's typically the extent of the march in the odd years. So
Yeah, because a lot of yours are in November.
most of ours are in November.
West Palm Beach, I think, had 2 seats up, but went unopposed.
Unopposed.
Does that include their strong mayor?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know if one of them
I
was
don't
the
think it
mayor's
was the
seat.
mayor.
I'd have to look that up.
So
The
yeah,
very strongest mayor in all the land.
very strongest mayor, and then and all the very strongest.
Sorry, Kyle.
Oh my gosh! All right, so that's it for local news. Let's talk to Mr. Abrams. All right, so tell us who you are and why you're here. No, I'm just kidding. Who you are?
Well, I'm here so that I don't have to fiddle with my computer to tune in to see you as I do every week. So
Oh, thank you.
saves me time.
Yeah.
I'm also glad to see all of you.
That's good for you.
That's
We're so happy to have you here. I've been looking forward to this for sure. So, who are you?
That's it?
No. Go. So you're from.
Oh, okay. All right. So
What's your story?
I wasn't born in a log cabin, but I went to.
Come from a middle class family.
But I actually went to school in a log cabin for 5th and 6th grade.
Really?
That's a difference. That's
Where are you
another
from?
story. I'm from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised.
I was actually born in Iowa.
Really?
Just,
Jews born in Iowa?
Just for a minute, passing through.
My husband's family's from
but
Iowa.
really, my family is from Philly. I'm from Philly. I grew up there
That's funny.
in downtown Philadelphia. If for those from Philadelphia, you know it's called Center City and not downtown. So Center City, Philadelphia, and just became involved in politics from a very young age. My mother worked for the city of Philadelphia in different interesting roles while I was growing up. Some boys take after their father. My father was a doctor, and if you ever saw my math and science grades, you knew that I was not destined for a career in medicine. So I tagged along with my mother as a kid, hung out at City Hall.
It's totally gonna be at least one of my kids.
I'm like, it
This is
sounds
what
familiar
happens.
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, hey.
I worked the polls on election day as a teenager, was very involved in politics, met a couple of mayors, and just was encouraged by my parents to pursue that, and just continued to do that. So I'm a total political junkie. And then,
Like the
involved in
rest of us.
student
Yeah.
government. And then my first job out of college was managing a congressional campaign in Spokane, Washington.
Oh, I have a girlfriend that lives in
My
Spokane.
ex-boyfriend's from there.
So this is about a third of the eastern part of the state
Yeah.
of Washington. And it was the candidate was the father of floor mates of mine in college, and so that's how we all went out there. And since I had some political experience, I got to be the campaign.
They tapped you in. They're like, you go.
So we came within like 2% of beating the then chairman of the House Agriculture Committee, who actually then later became Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tom Foley.
Oh.
And that caught the eye of the party back in Washington.
So were you a Republican or a Democrat?
I've always been a Republican.
Really?
Since
So
the
concert
day
family, was your family Republican?
well, that kind of reminds me of the story of the what they asked someone why he was a Republican, and he said, "Well, my father, my father's a Republican. My my grandfather was a Republican, and so that's why I'm a Republican." And then the person asked, "Well, what if your father was a horse thief and your grandfather was a horse thief?" I guess I'd be a Democrat. But I mentioned I grew up in downtown Philly during an era that was dominated by Democratic machine politics, the Frank Rizzo years for anyone who is a political historian. And that was just generally repulsive to me. So I was naturally going to be a Republican, not only in terms of my general philosophy, which I don't know why I had one as a teenager, but I did, and so that was a Republican from the beginning. And there was an active Republican Party even in machine-dominated Philadelphia. People remember Arlen Specter, who later became a United States Senator. He was the district attorney for many years in Philadelphia. So, where was I? Oh, so now I'm in Spokane, Washington. Okay, and we ran a very close competitive campaign. I then was offered a position in Washington. I worked for the National Republican Congressional Committee.
Really? Oh. What'd you do there?
Oh, the best job I've ever had. Before or since I became the head of opposition research.
Oh, Jean Marie! I need to tell Jean Marie about that one.
You could do your do.
Yeah, da da da. I love it.
Stayed in Washington. Had the privilege of working in the Reagan White House. Worked on the Reagan-Bush 84 campaign for the Tuesday team, which created the Morning in America TV commercials that are still well known. And met my wife, who that's also a Republican story you will like, because she was the press secretary at the time for a very obscure second-term Republican congressman from Georgia named Newt Gingrich.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, my
At
gosh.
that time said to me, "Stephen, I'm going to be Speaker of the House someday." And, okay.
This was in the mid-'80s?
Yes.
Make sure you talk in your microphone so we can hear you.
The Republican Party was a very small caucus then, and he was part of the Republican caucus that was not in favor. Right. So I'm just glad I did not laugh in his face. And, of course,
seemed a bit outlandish,
it did. But the rest is history with Newt, who, we're still friendly with. And so I also went to law school in Washington while I was at it. And then, since I was interested in politics, knew that I wanted to run for office. I wasn't going to do that in Washington, D.C. So I actually read an article in the Washington Post travel section about Boca Raton.
Seriously?
Yes, and I still have it. And how the residents of Boca were very concerned about the progression of the huge condo canyon coming up from Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and so took the creative step of actually buying the beachfront, which, as we know, if you want to stop development, the only way in this country, which constitutionally protects private property rights, is to actually buy the land, which the voters did. And I was very impressed by that. I knew of was close to a Philadelphia law firm that had a branch office in Boca Raton, called them, asked if they needed another attorney. They said, "Great, come on down." And that's how I got to Boca Raton.
Your wife was like, "All right, let's go"?
Well, she's from Atlanta.
Okay.
And we had to come up with a compromise where she would be warm and there would be a lot of Yankees to keep me company. So Boca was perfect. She thought damn Yankee was one word until she married me.
My mom's from Mississippi, so I understand the Southern culture.
Yes.
Very much.
I don't, but that's okay.
still?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I like grits.
That's
You
so
eat
funny.
them
Green.
I was
sweet
just
or
I was
salt and
just having
pepper?
a conversation with my high school
Cheese.
athletic director this afternoon. He
That's
stopped
safer.
in
Yeah,
at a
it's
store,
safer.
and he's from upstate New York. And we were talking about grits. I'm like, I bet you never had grits before. He's like, no.
Has he ever had boiled peanuts?
You do boiled
I'm
peanuts.
Southern, but I'm not a boiled peanut fan.
I love boiled peanuts.
I
My
did
husband
have-
thinks they're the grossest thing ever.
I did have a mess of turnip greens at Granny's house tonight before I came
A
here.
mess of turnip greens?
Yes.
What are they cooked in the bathtub? Oh, that's collard greens. Sorry. Sorry. Okay.
That's good. You know, those distinctions. In turn, my wife has developed a great taste for cheesesteaks, but that's
With whiz?
with from Jim's on South Street is what I recommend. People ask me all the time when they're going to Philadelphia. So where am I?
You moved to
So I
Boca.
moved to Boca. Oh, so the firm's office was in downtown Boca in the currently the Bank of America building. So you know that building on
Yeah.
Palmetto and Federal.
The big white one.
Overlooking a huge empty lot where now is the Hyatt Hotel, but also just a very degraded downtown area. And of course, as mentioned, I grew up in a downtown area. I like to have a walkable, pedestrian-oriented, mixed-use downtown. And so I was one of a group of a few people who started an organization called Citizens for Downtown Progress to try to achieve that goal, which culminated in the referendum that approved Meisner Park. And then a planning and zoning board seat opened up. I was appointed to that. I think right now I'm at the age of 27.
Oh my gosh.
Then a city council seat opened, and I ran for that in 1989, and I won that seat and served on the city council for 5 terms.
So, because there's no term limits.
No
then?
term limits.
The golden days.
And then, and I promised Abby I would mention some of my forays into Broward County.
Okay, yes,
So
let's go.
this is the first foray, would have been in the early 90s, 91,
Okay.
a redistricting year, where they do the census in 90 and redistrict
Right.
for 92. And there are always court challenges, but there were a lot of court challenges that year. And so filing was very late.
Yeah.
So as you know, there's a resign to run law in Florida. I resigned my seat on the city council to run for state representative in a district that was Broward coastal, but also reached into South Palm Beach County. So Boca Raton up to about Glades Road. So a really good seat for me, except that it was thrown out by the United States Supreme Court
No.
Oh, wow.
over litigation involving Hispanic seats in Miami-Dade County. But because
It was part of the compromise
of
or
the dominoes,
Yeah.
that if you changed that one district down in
All
Miami-Dade
of
County, everything through Broward and up to that seat, because that was the only Palm Beach County seat that extended into Broward,
right.
changed. It disappeared. So I had resigned my seat. The district had literally disappeared. Kind of like Matt Gaetz feels tonight.
Yes.
But luckily I was reappointed by at least 3 of my former colleagues. So I continued to serve on the council until 2000. Then I was I termed out? Anyway, I left the council to, again,
Oh, no.
Head into
seek
Broward.
my fame and
That
fortune
pesky Broward
in-
County.
in the Florida House of Representatives. So I was cruising along in that race for a few months, doing nicely, raising money, and I got a phone call. Stephen, there's somebody who's entering your race that you should know about, and there's good news and there's bad news. Okay.
Uh-oh.
What's the good news? The good news is he's only like 32 years old. He's only lived in the district for a couple of years. He has no record whatsoever of community involvement, and he works for Hooters. I said, I think I can handle that. I've been in office for a while now. What's the bad news? Connie Mack Jr.,
Oh.
the son of the United States Senator.
Did you? So you were in that with Lynn
Yes,
Pagans.
I was in the race with
Oh, okay.
Now, Lynn-
yeah, I've heard it from her side.
Lynn. We have discussed it many
Yeah.
times, and we had the same reaction. Now, she stayed in the race.
She did.
I mean, look, he raised about $100,000 in 2 days.
Yeah.
I think most people thought they were giving money to the father, but in any case, he raised the money. In the meantime, the Boca Raton Mayor seat was open. So I switched out, ran for that. We're talking about a Republican primary with Connie Mack Jr. and Lynn
Right.
ran a very valiant, made a very valiant effort.
Did he win the seat altogether?
Yes, he certainly did.
Yeah.
Against Kevin Rader, if you remember that name, who
Rader.
later became a state senator from West Boca del Rey.
I do recognize that.
But in any event, I ran for mayor of Boca Raton then, and which was great. I won the seat. I thoroughly enjoyed my tenure as mayor, even though we had a lot of things come at us that were not in my playbook.
What years?
Well,
was
you
this?
were. It was in the early to mid 2000s.
2001 through 08.
So the upswing and the crash.
We had no. That was my county commission.
Oh.
No, we had much simpler things like an anthrax attack.
Oh yeah.
That was my client.
Who was your client?
Who was your client?
American Media.
AMI, yes.
Yeah. I saw that tax return. The only tax return ever in U.S. history to have anthrax as a line item.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I became friends with David Pecker, who was the chairman, who
Such
later
an
went on
unfortunate
to, had some other notoriety. He was the only one who actually kept me informed of what was going on. But in any case, we had anthrax. We had, as we'll all recall, if you were there at the time, the 3 hurricanes in 14 months.
I was living in Israel, but my family was all here, so I missed all the fun.
Francis,
but I got
Francis,
to watch
Jean,
it.
and Wilma? Were those the 3
No,
that
Francis,
affected?
Jean, and
Charlie.
No.
Charlie was West Coast.
Charlie was West Coast, but we had Francis,
Jean, and Wilma.
Oh yeah, Wilma.
That
Wilma was the one
affected
that
this side of the state.
Wilma
yeah.
was the one that took
And
the
then
screen.
shortly thereafter came the Jansons.
Hurricane Jins.
Hurricane Jins came to Florida. No, when Wilma hit, I was in Israel and I was at a friend's house, and my her dad was like, "Hey, your family okay?" I was like, I don't know why. And he's like, well, there's a really big hurricane hitting Florida. Doesn't your family live in Florida? And I was like, yes. And so he turned on the news, and I just saw a massive eye passing over my house, essentially. And I was like, so I call my parents, and my dad answers, and he's like, yeah, we're good. I was like, what do you mean you're good? And he's like, well, we're outside. I'm like, you're outside. I'm looking at the storm.
Was it the eye?
Yeah, they were in the middle of the eye. And he's like, yeah, we're hanging out. We
Was it
took
big
the dog
eye?
out. It was a big eye, and they lived out west, so because it came from the
Yes,
west.
came from the west.
So then they got on the tail end when they lost power for 2 weeks and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I came to visit like a couple of months after, and I was very shocked. Like it was very like traumatizing.
I think
the destruction.
everybody was shocked at how destructive that
Yeah.
was.
And we had not had hurricanes until those 3.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for a
hit.
long
We
time.
were on the edge of Andrew, but
I was here
we're,
for
Yeah.
we're not
yeah.
a direct
Yeah.
It was.
hit
Yeah.
like these
mind
3
game,
hurricanes. So
yeah.
we had to really start from scratch in terms of hurricane preparedness.
Mm-hmm.
And then one just kept coming after the other.
Wow.
So,
So you were mayor during all of this.
yes. I lived in the EOC for half of my tenure.
Oh my God.
I had
Oh
hot
my
water.
goodness.
Oh.
But they put me to work. Don't worry, the taxpayers got their money's worth. I may have gotten a hot shower, but they got their money's worth.
Right.
And so then I was termed out as mayor. Finally, yes, term limits did finally
Did you vote for term
kick
limits?
in with me. Well, we had enacted, yes, we had put it on the ballot back in the early 90s, but and separately for council, as you know, and for mayor. So my tenure was at an end, but sometimes these things just fall into place. There was a vacancy in the District 4 County Commission seat.
District
that
4.
had to be filled by the governor.
Oh.
So, you're trying to think of
Yeah.
the circumstances. I'm not going to go into the
Okay.
circumstances. You'll have to
Oh.
look that up.
I know
Yeah,
the circumstances.
we know
We know the
those.
circumstances.
I had to do that timeline in my head.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you guys look that one up.
So, I was appointed to fill the vacancy in 2009.
What was that like going in after all of that happened?
It was, well, I told people that I had to learn, as a brand new county commissioner, you have to learn a whole lot of new agencies and acronyms. I mean, the BDB and the TDC And then I would say, and the FBI. I mean, I had to learn a lot of new acronyms. But I had been trained well in Boca. I've gone to finishing school in the city of Boca Raton, so it was very
You're ready to
it was
rock
an
and
easy
roll.
transition. And so then filled that vacancy, and then ran for election in 2010, and then again in 2014. So I had 10 years, even though term limits was 8, just like on the
Just like our current mayor.
well. Anyway,
Yeah.
I
'Cause he
missed the
took-
reference.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Never mind.
all right. So, you're back to Boca. I'm on
I
the
know,
county.
I know. Sorry, I took a turn.
Focus.
I took a turn
Yes.
on 95. I'm focusing.
Okay.
County. Okay.
So that was a lot of fun and hard work representing the District 4 seat, the best district, of course, in
Biased.
the county, or at least the best to be the county commissioner of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all municipalities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ah,
It's a small portion of
Just a
unincorporated.
little sliver.
right.
Yeah, but mostly
that
cities.
you always heard from, but small portion.
You-
And,
Because it's Central Boca.
and so
I think that's
what-
where I lived when I was little, like just west of
oh,
city
so
limits.
You're one of my constituents then.
No, that was in like the
Oh.
early to mid 80s.
You lived in Boca del Mar. Where did you live?
I think that is you know where St. Jude Catholic Church is?
Sure.
Yeah.
The neighborhood right there.
Yeah.
And
That
Where
would
the
have
Y
been.
is.
Yeah.
Where the Y.
Yeah, Amber Woods.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is just outside the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did annex it when I was mayor. We did do a lot of annexation. We
Mhm.
did not annex that area.
It was considered. Was it considered to be annexed?
But we have the ability to annex everything up to the to 440 to the
Turnpike.
To the turnpike.
to the turnpike, to square it off at the turnpike. But we cherry picked.
Are you gonna add this one?
Well, it has to be financially advantageous. We're
Yeah.
not gonna-
Exactly, exactly.
And Town Center Mall, which was my first order of business.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely brought in,
Mhm.
and that to this day reaps millions of dollars for the city. I mean, the fire station is across the city fire station was across the street from Town Center, which was in the county, and thereby was not the first responder
That's
to
crazy.
Yeah.
a fire at Town Center. I mean, they
Oh,
wouldn't
wow.
have sat there and watched it burn down, but on the other hand, they're not the first responder. It didn't make any sense.
Right.
Plus, it was a net gain. So Town Center and the adjoining neighborhoods.
Mhm.
So while I was on the county commission,
Yes.
as you know, one of the commissioners from each of the 3 South Florida counties serves on South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, which operates Tri-Rail among the 3 counties. So I was the county commissioner who was on the SFRTA board and was on the board for 8 years while I was a commissioner. And since District 4 runs on autopilot because it's all municipalities, did spend a lot. Look, they do their own taxes.
Yeah.
They do their own land use. So spent a lot of time at SFRTA, on my SFRTA responsibilities. And then as I was terming out of the county, the position of executive director became open,
Oh, okay.
which was, again, fortuitous timing. And I applied for that. And so was executive director of SFRTA for 4 years.
Okay.
And then left SFRTA, and here I am now.
Are you unemployed?
No. Actually, I've come full circle. I work for a government relations consulting firm and law firm that's based in Miami-Dade County called LSN Partners, and I opened their Palm Beach County office on Federal Highway in downtown Boca with a balcony that overlooks the holiday parade. And so I have now come full circle.
Full circle.
Wow.
Okay, so now
Wow.
that's
Yeah, so-
amazing.
So we're done here,
We're
right?
good. That's it. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we've got time for tonight.
I did get a comment from
yeah.
one of our viewers. She was in the Anthrax building, going back to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
We could do a whole show on
It's
that.
crazy. They had to leave everything. I know American media just
Yes.
they had to lock the doors and never go back.
That's
like
it.
all the stuff that was in that building had to be left.
Yes.
All their assets, all their
Correct.
paperwork,
All
everything.
their car keys.
Everything
If
had to
they
be
happened
left.
to set aside their car
Wow.
keys on the
Yeah.
desk that day, they were rushed out and didn't
Yeah.
even retrieve them.
Never went back.
That's why they wrote off a huge loss on their tax return because all of that was in the building, gone, lost.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And then when
scary.
when they were my client, they were in the IBM building, which is now Brick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time at that one summer.
Brick is brick.
It was different back then.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of things going on in Brick. I want to get a
They're
little
trying
caught
to.
up on that because there's been a lot of, it's been in the news and, well, I should say there's been a lot of reporting of what's going on in there. So,
Brick. Yeah, we'll have to delve
Yeah.
into it in 2025. Okay, so I have a question now. So now when you look out from your balcony versus the first time, what are your thoughts when you first moved here and you looked at the balcony and saw like empty lots and all of that? Now you look now. So what are
So
give us some compare and
it's
contrast.
obviously night and day. We have a vibrant downtown area. I perhaps wish I were mayor for the entire duration so that it could have come out exactly the way I wanted it to.
What's different versus
But
what you wanted?
Some of the design elements I would have changed, but in general, I'm able to walk to have lunch and walk to have coffee and go walk to meetings, and so we have a walkable downtown that's a mix of residential, office uses, recreational, art, cultural uses, and so that really is in large part what we envisioned that has come to pass.
So do you feel like a sense of like satisfaction?
Hang that banner, mission accomplished.
Yeah, like a mission accomplished. Like looking at it, like your mark on the city.
Yes,
of like
absolutely. And the ordinances are still in place that govern the development of the downtown. They need to be updated. There's no doubt, and I'm sure the city council is attending to that. But it generally did develop as it was originally envisioned.
that's amazing.
That's
What a
awesome.
legacy.
yeah, that's the word I was
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for. Legacy.
Oh, that's quite the buzzword in my world these days.
Really? What's your legacy gonna be?
Oh, my church is doing a big legacy campaign.
Oh.
So yeah.
That's like
But yeah, it's always been a word important to me since like high school.
it is.
But it's interesting because we're like in Lighthouse Point. We've all of our business district is along the Federal Highway corridor, and it definitely needs a little bit of a facelift at the least. And so we've had this economic development committee impaneled and meeting all year, and I think it's going to be a multi-year project. But there's some good things that are happening on the highway, and we can only hope to achieve Boca status.
You coming for us?
I don't know about that. But.
Boynton is coming for us.
Oh, yeah.
Boynton is really trying. They're picking up a lot of their stuff like lately. They have a lot of programs. They have a lot of
Oh yeah.
not programs. They have a lot of things to attract young families and their downtown and what they're building community and building connection. And they're really like working to kind of pull the city together and make a more cohesive, like branded city and stuff. So I spent a lot of
And they
time
already have-
there over the last few months. So.
They already have beach in their name, so they don't have to pull a Lake Worth.
They don't have to
beach
pull
the
Lake
end.
Worth and change their name. They have like
Except they don't have a beach, by the way. You
Right.
know that, right? That their beach is Ocean Ridge.
yes,
Yes.
that's true.
Yes.
False
They have
advertising.
the name, but not the beach.
It's true. I didn't actually think of that. Oh my gosh, that's true. Yeah, when you cross over, you go into Ocean Ridge. Yeah.
Well, that's like Lighthouse Point. Like the lighthouse is on Hillsborough Mile. It's not in Lighthouse Point. Shh.
Don't tell. I'm not telling secrets. You're gonna get yeeted.
So, Steve, did you? I don't want you to choose, but did you find it easier to navigate city versus county or county versus city?
Well, it's just a different role. I mean, when you're mayor, every issue, and I used to tell audiences that the biggest difference between being mayor and being a commissioner was, again, some good news and bad news. The good news is when you're a county commissioner, not every single issue and problem comes to your doorstep, and you're not the center of attention for every single challenge. The bad news is that you're no longer the center of attention for every single issue.
Good point. Good point.
good point.
Now, you were also the mayor for the county, correct?
Yes, so I was the first mayor. I initiated that, actually.
You did? Okay.
And the reasoning, there were a
Yes.
couple reasons for that. First of all, as we know, Miami-Dade has a mayor, albeit a strong
Elected
mayor.
mayor.
Right, an elected mayor. But
the county has an elected mayor?
Yes, Miami-Dade,
absolutely.
Danielle
know
Levine
that.
Cava. Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was an elected, it's an at-large elected seat
Yes, and a strong mayor.
and a strong mayor.
Oh, she's a strong mayor?
Yes,
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Huh. For the whole county.
correct.
So she governs the county commission.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
I mean, she governs the county, but like
Right.
she sits on the board with the county. Like
No, if she's a strong mayor, she doesn't have a vote.
she doesn't
Separate.
have.
Yeah.
She's a separate. Okay, right. Strong mayor,
seat.
She's like the executive of the county, the chief executive of the
as
county.
opposed to like our Virginia,
Where they yes, correct.
who's our executive, who kind of
Right.
runs.
So you have a mayor in Miami-Dade County, albeit a separate
Yeah.
style.
And Broward trades.
Broward is very similar
Yeah.
to
Palm Beach
County. They have a mayor.
Okay.
Monroe County, by the way, also has a mayor. And as a unit in South Florida, we didn't. So it's like, what are we, chopped liver? But the other reason that I thought it would be a good idea from a South County perspective was that whenever we had a company come to Palm Beach County to seek to locate in Palm Beach County, the first thing that a CEO would ask is, I would like to speak to the mayor.
Mm.
And they'd always end up with the mayor of West Palm Beach. Even though this company could locate anywhere.
I mean,
with
Bo-
the-
Boca has
and
a
we do
lot of
have
business.
Many
Yeah.
corporate headquarters that we're very proud of. So that was another reason that I sought to initiate that, so that thered be a county mayor. And if a CEO wanted to move his or her business to Palm Beach County and wanted to meet with the mayor, they would end up with the county mayor.
Mm. So was that by ordinance?
No, interestingly, it was just by a change of the rules of the county commission.
Ah,
So at any time, it could be changed back.
okay.
Interesting.
But
they
somehow,
maintained
even
it.
though it was somewhat controversial at the time, even among the board, I think it passed 4-3.
Drama.
For some reason, nobody's ever wanted to
Change it
reverse
back.
No,
Yes.
now they just want to hold on to being mayor,
Yes,
like King
including, by the
Turner.
way, some of the commissioners that were opposed to it, who then became
Became
in
mayor.
line to become mayor and had no problem accepting the title.
Taking the title.
Right.
So we actually just had a organizational meeting. So
Yeah.
Maria Marino is now the mayor, and Sarah Baxter is the vice mayor.
How'd she get the
The crown
how did she get seniority over
over who?
Marcy? She and Marcy got elected at the same time.
No, Marcy stepped back because that means that Sarah's going to be the mayor
Mayor
during
during-
re-election.
Yeah.
And Marcy was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Which I agree with, not
Yeah.
being mayor when you're running.
Yeah,
for
that's what
re-election.
Bob did, and
For-
it was rough.
Yeah.
correct. And
Could be why he left.
I mean, we'll go with that. Sure, we're going to be generous for that. But I mean, it has its perks because you do have your name everywhere,
Right.
But
But
the amount of time.
Yes, it's the time
Correct,
commitment. I mean,
yeah.
even just the time it takes to sign all of the ordinances
yeah.
and resolutions every week, and as well as you have a breakfast meeting in Jupiter and a luncheon in West Palm. And
You can't be
something-
like
right.
campaigning in your
And-
district.
And I think it's also confusing to the voters that you are asking the voters to reelect you as county commissioner,
But you're the mayor.
but you have a different title.
Right.
Right.
And then they
right.
think they're reelecting the mayor, and then right after that,
Too
you're not the
confusing.
mayor anymore.
Yeah.
Like a week later, if they reelect you,
And
you're
I
like,
think
oh, I'm
I
no
saw
longer
that
mayor.
you posted on Facebook that you and Maria Marino are like the only
You were-
mayor of a county and a city. Is that
In
correct?
Palm Beach County.
You
In
were the
Palm Beach County.
first, and she's the second.
That's true.
Oh, was she the mayor of Jupiter?
She was the mayor of Palm Beach Gardens.
Palm Beach
Yeah.
Gardens.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got all those little cities up there.
So that was
mixed
an interesting.
So I'm still
little
the only male
up.
mayor of a city. Okay.
Well, you
Okay,
held
we'll
that
give
for
you
a
that.
while. I mean, too,
Yeah.
But
being
I
the
s-
only one.
Right. No,
So,
I'm just the
but now,
only male.
now you're listen, hold it, take it.
And the only non-golfer. She's a, she's
Oh,
a
Oh,
yeah.
I
former
know.
golfer.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
like really. Yeah,
Oh.
she's like
And
a serious
yeah.
golfer.
Due to my Center City, Philadelphia upbringing, the only golf course that I can handle is one that has a windmill on it.
Same. And I grew up
I can
here.
relate.
I grew up here. We did not golf. That was not our sport. Growing up here. Okay, so do you have kids?
Yes.
Are they here?
One is, two kids, one here, one in New York.
Did they
Well,
follow you? Any of them follow you into politics?
No,
No.
No.
They were like, no, we're good.
right. No, they're a lot smarter than I am.
Less of a glutton for
Right.
punishment.
I think my dad made a comment to me today. Like, I don't know why anybody chooses to run in politics.
Right. Everybody,
I don't know.
I will say, especially my daughter has like the plum job that why would you do anything else? So she currently writes for the, is an editor for the Daily Mail, but for her career has been a fashion / celebrity writer for various publications.
That's
Currently a fashion editor for the Daily Mail. And so, so for example, when Taylor Swift was in town, a few weeks ago, 14th row seats. She didn't
wow.
pay a nickel to be there.
She's got the golden
yes.
job. She's
So
like, why would I go into politics?
Exactly right. Now, both my kids are very interested in it and are extremely opinionated about it, but
They don't
are
want to
not
take the mantle on
involved
themselves.
in it, or correct.
No.
Were they growing up when you were
Yes.
mayor and
Yeah, yeah.
commission?
Yeah.
So they were in
That's
all the
probably another
pictures,
Yeah, correct.
smiling and
Oh, yeah.
waving. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Want to see something?
I do at some point. Probably not when our viewers can't see them, but so do you have any aspirations or looking to do anything else in politics? Or are you just kind of seeing what happens, or
You gonna foray into
you gonna
Broward again?
foray to Broward? What does the future hold?
So I like my status as an elder statesman and was really enjoying it until someone reminded me that the definition of an elder statesman is a dead politician.
Aw.
Oh,
Not nice.
funny, but
Was
not
that-
nice.
Was that one of my kids who said that? But it is nice to be influential behind the scenes.
Do you stay involved in campaigns and
Very
things
involved,
like that?
and many of my successors, both at the city level and county, the council members and commissioners call me for not necessarily advice, but maybe background on different issues, the historical context. So I'm since I got started in this when I was like 20 years old, I'm able to provide that, and so that's been very satisfying. Would I ever say no to being
Foraying
more
into Broward?
involved in the future? Of course not. I keep my options open at all times. I mean, I
Yeah.
still want people to return my calls.
Yep, never say never, right?
Right.
So it's so in 2026 in Boca we have a mayor's race coming up.
Yes.
Do you have any insight or any information that you want us to look out for or to keep an eye on?
I mean, it's a very visible position. I'm sure there'll be great interest, just like we talked about the governor's race will be an open seat in 2 years. That's going to attract any number of candidates. We know now that the the presidency will be open in 4 years, no matter what happens. So,
You're going to run for president in 4
no,
years?
that's to tell you about know that every day 100 United States senators get up in the morning and look in the mirror and see the next president of the United States.
It's interesting. I actually saw a screenshot today of people that have already filed a run in the governor's race in 26. And there is someone on there that ran for school board in Broward in 22, ran for a city commission seat in 24, and now is filed to run for governor. Obviously, he was unsuccessful at both of those races.
And going for governor? I'm telling ego. It is ego.
Was that Joe Kaufman or
No.
Oh.
No.
Sorry, Joe.
But yeah, there's like 7 or 9 people that have already filed in the governor's race.
Wow.
Like of all the different parties, not
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
gonna be
those
crazy.
are the names you'd always see. I
The-
can't
the-
believe that there are actually other names on a ballot.
I was just surprised I actually recognized one of the names already.
I'm
like,
surprised we don't recognize all of them. Is it the serial renters?
Yeah, basically.
So, but my point was that there'll be great interest, I'm sure.
Yeah.
in
It's
the
gonna be
open
fun.
mayoral seat.
So you think it's going to be like a contentious race the whole time, like 4 or 5 people in it, or
I don't know. It will depend on, I think, the mood of the public.
Hmm.
If people are satisfied with the direction things are going in, there may just be even a consensus candidate who, it's hard to predict.
A
Although-
lot can happen in
Oh,
a
yeah.
year and a
Correct.
half too. So
Depends on what kind of shenanigans they're going to try. Like council's going to, whatever's going to go forward, wherever the big issue that people have at the time. If there's something that they're unhappy
Correct.
about, there'll be
Yeah.
a lot more outcry or someone who then pops up to run.
It's very much a "what have you done for me lately" mentality.
Yeah. Yes. And
Yep,
what are you going to,
very
like,
true.
what are you, or what are you doing right now that could impact me directly? Because NIMBY.
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 yeah. So
Boca's really good at NIMBY.
yeah. So in 26, all of the Republicans are up, right?
26 is Fran,
Yep.
Wigder,
And then the mayor.
and the mayor. Yeah.
And also, you have Yvette Drucker, who has already announced she's running
Yeah.
for state senate, so
Yep.
she will presumably not be a candidate for mayor.
Yeah. So she won't be a candidate for mayor. That's gonna be an
She's
interesting
running
race.
for Polsky seat.
No.
No.
Berman.
Berman.
Yeah.
Open seat.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's termed out.
So she's going to run for it's her and David
Silvers.
Silvers have declared already.
What is David?
He was a state rep. Is
Okay.
he still a state rep? Or is
Well,
he,
I
think
no,
he
I
termed
think
out.
He termed out.
Right. So he's termed out already. So he'll be running for the next 2 years.
And Rick Roth is running for that seat as well.
I have no comment.
Wait, that's like the opposite. Does that touch any part of his house district?
No, he's going to have to move.
Okay.
Wait, no, it might up at the top.
It's an oddly configured.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it is
truly
a
is.
very
weird
odd.
shape.
It goes into Broward. I think it takes
Pols-
it into.
No,
No,
Polsky's
Polsky's
does.
goes into
Polsky,
Broward.
you're
Yeah.
right, correct. Polsky's goes
Yeah.
into Broward.
Yeah.
Because
'Cause-
Polsky's my state senator, and I
Yeah.
marvel at whoever came up with the configuration of that district.
No,
That's
and it's really
crazy.
unfortunate because we won't ever get a Republican to represent us because of how much Broward is pulled into the
And the
district.
Well,
I think it
that's-
goes out to the Glades as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is
You
not
never say never, because I know some Republicans in Broward that are doing their time now that may have their eye on that seat in the
Alright.
future.
Well, let us know so we can try to deliver Palm Beach County for them so we can maybe get a Republican senator in that seat.
I know,
Because
it's
she's
like-
termed out too.
It's like Boca always ends up getting screwed.
Well,
What-
The redistricting
Right.
bites
I
us
mean,
in
what
the butt.
happens is that the sort of center of the political universe is always in the central part of the state,
Mhm.
and so they start the party starts there in terms of configuring the districts to their satisfaction, and by the time it gets down to the southeastern part of the state, which is considered, at least previously, to be total Democratic territory,
They don't
but
care.
also
we get very odd looking districts that are
It's like
kind
they
of
got
the scraps.
tired. They're like, that looks good.
well, not only that, but like
It's like
they,
a 3-year-old.
Exactly right.
It's
And-
like a 3-year-old drew it
Here's
one
the
night.
maps.
And it necessitates, by the way, and we've seen this with, example after example. Mike Caruso comes to mind, where good Republican incumbents have to then move into
Yeah.
other territory with districts that they can win, but it's not. They're not drawn for the benefit not only of the residents, but even the actual Republican incumbents.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, but and also, I mean, like in South Florida, the districts are so much smaller because the population is so much
Yeah.
denser. So it's all curved up like.
Do you think that will change now that Palm Beach County is swinging more red? Like that they'll start paying more attention to us down here instead of being the redheaded stepchild or the blue-haired stepchild?
Time
That's
will tell.
Broward.
Oh, the other example was the year that Alan West had to move
Yeah.
into the Treasure Coast district, and
Oh,
the
yeah,
Treasure Coast
after redistricting.
congressman who had that seat moved to Lakeland to run in that district.
But
and
West didn't end up winning
No,
the
he
race
did
up
not
there.
end up
Yeah,
winning
and then he
that
moved to
race.
Texas. Yeah,
And he was like, I'm out.
because he was
Florida,
my
I'm out.
He was my congressman.
He was my
for-
congressman.
for
My
2
dad
years.
helped on his campaign.
Yeah.
So there's a whole history of that.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what will happen. Well, we'll have to see with the census that comes up in the next
mean, there-
round.
There was good that was done during the redistricting in 2021 or 22, whatever, because my then state senator Gary Farmer got redistricted out, and then he ran for a judge.
So you got a good end of the stick
Yes.
instead of the short end.
Yeah, because
But he wasn't replaced by a Republican.
he was not replaced by a Republican, but
You personally got districted into a more Republican district.
Pizzo's my state senator now.
Oh, right.
And he's
but
an
I mean for
improvement
State
over
House.
Farmer.
Yeah, he is. I remember
That
Farmer.
is true.
Yeah.
We are farmers.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm sorry. And so every time I hear his name, that's all I can think of. It's all I can think of. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a good point. So funny.
All right. So what do you think of our state government? How are they doing?
I thought this was local.
It is, but
local.
state
Local.
on down. State down.
Oh, state on down.
State
Now
down.
that you're- so we the locals is a misnomer.
No, because it is, because our local representatives make the laws that govern our lives on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
So we
So
need to
what-
know who they are
Correct.
and what's going on.
I commend you. That's why I watched. You're not getting that kind of information anymore.
Right.
Or at least not readily. I think I once told you that when I first started in '89 as a city council member, you came into the council chambers
Yep.
and sitting before you was a beat reporter from the Sun Sentinel. And when I say a beat reporter, all they covered was City Hall. There was an entirely different reporter who covered Boca education, Boca
Really?
Wow.
business, Boca. There was a twice-a-week column similar to like a Frank Cherubino column that was about Boca Raton, period. And then you had the same for Delray and the same for Boynton. And obviously the Sentinel's a Broward paper, so the
Yeah.
same for all the municipalities in Broward. Sun Sentinel beat reporter, Palm Beach Post beat reporter,
That was back when they
Miami Herald beat reporter.
in
In
Boca.
Palm-
In
Wow.
Boca, Spencer Shue, he turned out to be a great reporter for the Washington Post, went on. You had the Boca Raton News, which at the time was a Knight Ridder newspaper, so like a real newspaper. You had a biweekly paper called the Monday Thursday paper. I bet you can't guess which 2 days of the week it came out. And they were there, and the three networks, if it was a big issue, they wouldn't come just to cover a routine meeting. But they all had South County bureaus, the three West Palm Beach TV stations. So obviously the whole media landscape has changed. But as part of that, if you get the Sun Sentinel now, I'll probably be the only person remaining who will actually have a paper edition. But it's like Orlando news, Fort Lauderdale news.
Yeah.
Once in a while, they will cover a major Boca story, which is nice. That they at least you will keep an eye out for the major stories. You won't get the smaller stories.
Right.
But it's there's and you're seeing some I don't know if they're websites or news that is very localized now. Boca News Now.
Yeah,
There's
Boca News
another.
Now, less
The Coastal Star.
Coastal
The
Star.
Coastal Star for certain, which I used to call the District 4 newsletter.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the only municipalities they cover were the District 4 municipalities.
Yeah, I love the Coastal Star.
Right.
I know,
Yeah.
me too.
And they cover it in that kind of a depth
Yeah,
of
they
the
go in depth,
smaller
yes.
issues that are, as you said, so critically important
Yeah,
to
affecting our everyday
residents,
life. Yeah.
affecting everyday lives that are just not covered anymore.
Yeah.
Except in those outlets that don't have a lot of widespread distribution, but if you know about them, you can go to them.
The New Pelican.
The new Pelican.
The Pelican,
Yeah.
In my forays into Broward, I definitely
Did
would.
you run ads in the Pelican?
I never got to that
Oh.
point, but I made sure I went down there and pulled that
Yeah.
out of and the Deerfield Observer and the Pelican.
Yep.
Okay, I have a question. Okay, let's talk about in Boca. There's the Greater Beaches and Parks District.
Yes.
Versus the give me some background on that one, because I've heard that there was bad blood at some point. I don't know how recent that history is, though, that they didn't really get along really well with the city council. There was tension there. How did that get created, and what was how did that?
Well, you're skipping around in time.
I am. I am. I don't know exactly. I want to talk about
the
that.
bad blood.
So
I
whatever my
was
question is.
not involved in. I think I was at Tri-Rail at the time, so I wasn't paying close attention to it. But I'm sure it had to do with the Boca Chica golf course and who would,
I
I
used to live on that.
That would be who would have authority over how that would be transformed and how that would be financed. But originally, the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, originally called the Beach and Tax District, but they cleverly took the name tax out.
They hide it. They hide it.
Is a creation of state legislation, and the original intent back in the 70s, I think it was created back then, was when Boca Raton was smaller geographically and more coastal, but we had plenty of neighborhoods out west who were using the beaches, who were using the big parks, and weren't paying for it. So it was created so that they would pay into the use of the beaches primarily that they were enjoying. And that's how it came about.
Wow. I didn't know that. So, and so now it still exists, and now we pay the taxes and beach passes. which
How much were the beach passes when you were
which bothers me because we're being taxed
The
twice.
only thing that has ever the thing that has most bothered me, when I look back, why didn't I fix this at the time? Was the fact that you can't prorate a beach pass.
Yes, you
that
cannot
too.
prorate a beach
That's why I
pass.
don't buy one,
Now,
actually.
back then in my day,
Back
with pre-computers, it was probably difficult to do that or more trouble than it was worth. But it just seems to me you could probably do it.
You could totally do it. Or get a summer beach pass. Like, that's a thing, too. So, like, you can go to the pools, like the municipal pools. You can get a beach pass or a pool pass for the summer. But you can't get a beach pass for the summer.
But it's still more expensive, I think, if you are a out-of-towner to use
Oh,
the beach.
yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
I have to recall that because I'm not an out-of-towner who uses the beaches. I'm
No,
an
it is.
in-towner.
I think it's
So,
$35 a day.
wow.
To some extent, it's yes, you're paying the overall tax, but then you're a particular user of the facility.
Yes, but so this is what grinds my gears is that the rate that it went up was very quick. So it was $65 for a long time. Beach passes were $65 for years. And then it went $65 to $75 in 1 year, which is a large percentage in an increase. And then the next year it went to $85. Actually, don't even know what it went to this year because I haven't gotten mine yet. Anybody know? I don't know. Anybody know? I don't know.
Could look it up.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Now, here's a problem that I have, as I've explained the progression of my career, is that people still sometimes think I'm in office.
No. I know you're not. I know that. I'm sure people are complaining. I'm just venting. I've had this conversation with our viewers before.
I understand.
Because it's a jump, and then not only that, the people who are responsible for spending the money are not the ones responsible for choosing the amount that the beach pass costs. The city just sets the beach pass price, but then the people who are responsible for spending it and using it are not the city because it goes to the Beaches and Parks District. It's a thing that bothers me because it's taxation without representation. It's the wrong people making the decision for
The
how it
mayor's
gets
seat
cost.
is up in 2026, Josie.
Are there any potholes I can help you with?
Anyway, that's my thing with the beaches. I love the beaches in Boca. I'm very happy we have them. It's just that, I don't like it just feels like they're I don't know. Anyway,
$85.
it is $85. Okay, so they didn't raise it this year. Thank you, Boca.
The South Beach access only is $102. I don't know what that means.
South Beach, the South Inlet, which one?
South Inlet is the county.
Yeah. So what does that mean by South?
That
Inlet?
I don't know.
Oh, the Palmetto.
That's South Beach.
Well, there's South Inlet Beach, and then there's
The 85 is the city of Boca Raton and Greater Beach and
Beach
Park
and Parks
District,
District.
and then I guess the 102 is the county, the South.
Oh, so if you want get a pass
county
to go
pass,
there rather
yeah.
than pay for the hourly. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and that goes to the county.
Yes.
It's County Beach,
Spanish River City.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spanish River City, and then
I just remember having to pay an arm and a leg when I wanted to take my dog on the dog beach.
$35 probably.
I'm like,
yeah.
sorry, Buster.
So and then there's meters on Spanish River, but not on Palmetto.
No.
Not on the road. There's at the top, but not on the road. They don't have meters there because it's a county road, right?
Correct.
Is that right?
It's like, I think so.
How much time is left?
Sorry, it's a county road, so they can't put meters there.
You didn't realize you're coming to a Festivus.
I got to air my grievances. We're getting closer to the holidays. That's what we do.
When do we get into the feats of strength?
Oh my gosh. All right. What other questions we got? What you got?
So Steve, what is the biggest challenge that you personally experienced while in office that was memorable to you?
Well, I mentioned the anthrax.
I was gonna say, besides anthrax.
And the hurricanes.
But like a city, like
I ended up testifying, by the way, in front of a U.S. Senate subcommittee.
Ooh.
And, you know, one of the problems was that we didn't have, at least at first, good communication with the FBI, and they were trying to keep a lot of things under wraps because it was a criminal investigation.
for the anthrax you're talking about. Okay.
Right, anthrax. And I had to establish those channels with the FBI and with the Centers for Disease Control, which, by the way, also had different motivations because FBI, it was a crime scene. For the Center for Disease Control, it was a health safety issue where they wanted to get more information out rather than less, so that people would know. So I mentioned AMI and David Pecker, who I established a.
How did you
Because I reached out to them
But
because
how was
they were
that?
affected.
How did you get the call that day that had happened?
Oh, from the city manager that night.
That night.
That night. It was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. I called my father, who I mentioned is a doctor. I woke him up. He was asleep. It was like midnight. I mentioned that we had anthrax, and he answered, "Why are you calling me about Amtrak?" But in any case, so now the National Enquirer was a news gathering organization.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had a lot of back channels that were not available to me, that they were feeding me the information because I wasn't, at least at the outset, getting good information from the public sources. So I testified in front of the Senate subcommittee, and I mentioned that. And the next day, the Reuters headline was, Boca Mayor gets his information from the National Enquirer.
I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been the Weekly World News.
and they then printed their own story in the National Enquirer. So I was in the National Enquirer that week as well, next to a story about Brad Pitt.
Oh my gosh.
I used to love walking into their office, and they would have the latest edition of like all their magazines. And I was there before they discontinued the Weekly World News. That was the one that had like Bat Boy on the front. Good times.
Wow. So you definitely went through a lot of trials and tribulations while you were mayor.
Oh my gosh.
I loved every minute.
Do you miss it?
Do I miss? Well, as I said, I'm still very much involved in the both politically and on policy. I mean, one of the nice things also that about the position I'm in now is that I can pursue a lot of policies from the private sector that I advocated in the public sector, and sometimes that's actually more effective in terms of getting results. So that's been very gratifying as well.
Do you work on the state level as well, or mainly just
You're
local?
trying to get that state level in there.
No, just curious.
We're just curious.
Yes, the firm.
Because they're tied all together, right?
Our firm, its bread and butter is South Florida, but we have a Tallahassee office. We have a Washington, D.C. office. We also have a division that is very active in state capitals around the country. So for a small firm, it really has a big reach.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Have you ever thought about moving more into like professionally, politically consulting, or having like being managing campaigns, or like moving that direction more like officially like out front?
Well, if you manage a campaign, you're not supposed to be out front.
No, I know, but I mean, but it's like that. I mean, I don't
That's
know.
That's one of my pet peeves, by the way. You see, you want to, have
airing of grievances.
Airing of grievances. Let's go.
The elected official who wins their campaign, and I'm probably implicating a whole bunch of my friends here. Now. And at the organizational meeting, the first person they thank is their political consultant. I never mentioned my political consultant. No, you're supposed to thank your family, thank God, thank your supporters. Leave the political consultant out of it.
Behind scenes. Behind the scenes. Yeah.
You shouldn't even know who, really the campaign manager is, or the people that are behind the scenes. In my
It's
opinion.
fine by me. Yeah.
Because for one, if you lose, then you know
You don't need
you
the
just start
blowback.
fresh.
Right? So the answer is no, but I love giving political advice and freely do. As you
Just
can tell.
got a comment from that same viewer. I love the weekly world news.
Do we have any questions?
No questions in the chat,
Guys,
and
got
actually
any
these are all
questions?
coming through text. She's texting me.
Oh,
okay.
But yeah, quiet chats tonight. So if you guys have questions for Steve, drop them in the
us
chat.
go. Let's go.
It gets the post-election lull.
Yeah, I do
yeah,
feel like
for
people
sure.
are like, I feel like the high.
We're heading
and then
into Thanksgiving next week
Yeah.
and
I gotta get my
food coma.
turkey. Go shopping. I'm strategically trying to figure out when's the best.
Are
time
you
to go to
handling the whole
Costco.
meal?
I'm gonna cook most of it. Yeah, I usually do. I like doing it because then it comes out the way I want it.
My granny handles the bird and the stuffing.
So, well, I don't cook a
Dressing.
turkey. I don't cook a turkey. So,
No.
my husband usually smokes turkey.
Oh.
So he's gonna smoke a turkey, and then my dad wants to roast one this year, so he's gonna roast,
Okay.
and then I do everything else. But it's small this year because all my siblings are not coming.
Abroad.
Yeah. So, my
So what
brother.
time's dinner?
Huh? I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
I will let you know.
Me and my mom and my sisters, we all tackle the sides.
Yeah,
we all
I
split
do all
up
the
the
sides
sides
and
and the
the-
desserts. Yeah,
I do all that. I like to do
I'm
all
in
that.
charge of eating. in my family.
that's my dad.
Yeah.
So
no.
do you usually go out of town for the holidays? Do you stay close? Do the kids
it,
come
it
in?
depends. We have close family in in the Florida Panhandle,
Oh,
in Seaside, Florida. So
Oh.
sometimes we will go there, and sometimes we will stay here. But we usually end up going up there for one of the either Thanksgiving, Christmas week, or New Year's. So this year it'll be Christmas week.
oh, nice, awesome.
Yeah. Are you guys traveling?
Nope.
Are you traveling?
Nope.
Nope.
All my family's here.
Yeah,
So.
that's true. I know. We're getting a squeeze for my mother-in-law to come to St. Louis for Christmas, but I don't-
St. Louis.
For Christmas?
Christmas.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's cold. So when we went 2 years ago, I don't know if you guys probably don't. I don't know if you remember. There was a massive snowstorm that shut everything down for like a week. We were one of the last flights out of South Florida to get into St. Louis before the snowstorm started, and the airlines closed for a week after that. And ours was the first
Jeez.
one of the first flights out to come home.
Oh, that's luck.
Yeah, it all kind of worked out. But I was like, after about a few days, I was like, okay, this is good. This is enough. This is enough. I'm done. Enough
So,
snow.
Steve, one last question. You've been a big fan of the show,
Yes.
so that's
Yes.
awesome. And so, what inspired you to watch us and to kind of?
I'm trying to even think of how I knew you
I was
going
gonna
to
ask, how did you even find us?
I mean, now you've been for
Over a
good-
year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
over
I
a year.
We're closing in on a year and a
Right,
half.
So
Yeah.
my
Holy
memory doesn't serve me for anything. That
But I feel like
happened
you've been
more than
watching
a
since
month
almost the
ago.
beginning. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, I mean, you fill a niche. I was, active for many years on the Republican Executive Committee, for example.
Oh, yeah, that's
lost
right.
complete touch with that. So it's great to get updates on that without having to actually be on the.
Oh, come on. You don't want to come into the
participate.
fun?
Sometimes I don't blame you, and I completely
not blame
understand.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Well, I was like you when I was on for a while when I was a city council member, and then just decided, it's you really should be a more nonpartisan.
It's a
role.
nonpartisan role. Yeah.
And so
I can get away with it in Lighthouse Point.
Yeah, no, to be on the REC,
Yeah.
correct, but
To
not
be an
to
officer.
be an officer.
Yeah.
And I was really pleased when Mike Barnett, when he became commissioner, dropped that role, because that just creates
Well,
an
the
inherent
previous-
conflict that cross pressures you in a way that is unnecessary.
The historical context too is it doesn't work out well for someone to be both the chair and
Well,
a
I mean,
county
he would have been
commissioner.
running an election campaign and
Yeah.
and
It
the,
would have
and
been
the
a problem.
presidential election year. at the
Yeah,
same
it would have
time.
been
It was
rough.
just like,
It would have not worked out well. So no, it was a smart move on his part. It kind of left us all a little bit in the lurch.
I'm waiting for him to get an appointment. I hope.
So
that he
are
does.
we.
Yeah.
So are
I'm
we.
sure if he wants one, he would be a very good addition.
I mean,
to
Dan
Yeah.
Fogenholy just got appointed to his 4th position by the governor to the Board of Education.
Oh
He
yeah,
had been
that's
appointed
right.
3 times to the Broward County School Board.
and then he didn't, and then
He lost his
race.
his campaign. Yeah,
and so now he's on the so he's in
He got a-
Tallahassee.
he got a. Well, they typically meet, I think, in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they met this week, and he got sworn in.
Hot
so.
take: we should move capital to Orlando. so it's closer.
Well, there's a whole story about
Why it's in Tallahassee.
correct.
Oh, I don't know the story.
Well, I mean,
So
look,
please tell.
originally, of course, when back in
In the 1800s or
right,
whatever.
Back in the day.
The pioneer days.
Right. I mean, the state was Jacksonville on the east and Pensacola on the west, and so Tallahassee was a pretty good.
in the middle.
And that's like the
Midpoint.
only area in the state that's like pretty decent. Well, then in the state that was pretty decent farmland. Like that was before they developed, south of Lake Okeechobee
Flagler.
and yeah.
And in many states, the capital is in between the two major cities.
Mhm.
And so that's how it was. Then, of course, Florida grew, and South Florida, of course,
Henry
blossomed
Flagler
up.
popped
Right.
up.
Yes.
But the what were they called? The pork chop gang is what they were called. That had the influence that were from the Panhandle. Wanted to maintain that influence, and they knew that eventually it would be more logical to have the capital in Orlando, and they did not want that to occur.
Oh,
So
can you
that's
imagine though?
when they went on the building spree in Tallahassee, built the new Capitol, built all of the agencies' huge office complexes.
Mhm.
To attract them all to stay.
Well, then you couldn't
Yeah.
move. You had
Yeah.
just made that investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine moving the capital to
Well,
Orlando?
hold on. Postscript to that is that I'm sure the legislators from the other parts of the state would not necessarily want the capital to move either and make it more accessible.
They
to
don't
get
want
to.
it to be accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
matter of
it's a haul
speaking.
from South Florida to get up to
it
it
is
certainly
Tallahassee.
rough.
is.
Oh,
It
yeah.
certainly is.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
rough.
That's
But
pretty-
can you imagine like all the Disney World traffic?
Well, now,
and then,
no.
Yeah.
No. I think that would be too chaotic.
Yes,
But
very chaotic.
it is as someone who wants to be more involved and be able to go and,
Put it in Lakeland.
like somewhere that's a little, that's like a day, like who go do it in a day and
Well,
not like
That you've answered your own question by saying that.
they don't want us there. They like it that way. They can just be there and do all the things, and then
In
session
60
is so
days,
fast.
then
and
come home.
Yeah, in 60 days, and then they're done. And sorry,
Yeah,
we
start
just changed
paying.
your life.
Like the sausage is getting made now.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. So
All the
that's
big exciting
bringing-
things are happening
exactly.
right
So
now.
all of the new legislators that just got elected all got sworn in this week, and they're going to be starting.
I know the
committee.
Senate had their organization meeting today. I think with
Mhm.
like all the committee
So
heads,
bills are
chairs.
being submitted
Yeah.
already. Actually, we should probably start watching that.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
Yep.
yeah. Well, if there's any ones that you guys see that you want us to keep an eye on, please let us know. So bills are being submitted. Committee weeks are going to be coming up, and then also they're going to be doing their what are they called when they come and they meet with the public? They're called something.
The legislative delegation meetings?
Yeah, the legislative delegation meetings. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And the public one. They're open to the public.
The ones where they don't let Chip LaMarca.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well, they have like representatives from all, and then you come and as the public and tell them what you think about all the
Yes.
bills and stuff like that. Yeah, the legislative delegation. Yes, that one with
And then we always have a very successful Palm Beach County Day.
Palm Beach County Days. I
And
do
at
want to go
Broward
to that
does the
this
same.
year.
Yeah,
Where-
I'm looking forward. It'll be my first Broward Day.
Yeah, if it's organized with that it can be a very effective day, and the county has always really organized that extremely well.
Yeah.
You've been there and brings in all the different parts of the county, so it's not just government officials going up; it's homeowners groups, business groups,
Yeah.
cultural folks.
Party in Tallahassee.
Well, and it used to be very much a party. in
Wild.
right.
Tallahassee.
No, I mean like party, like put like
But-
meetings and like everyone's
Correct.
Last
together.
year it
and-
was a
And-
pretty
and-
good party.
You never went to a Palm Beach County day when the Bowmans put a barbecue on in the middle of the courtyard, with an open bar.
before cell phones and video recording that they can catch you
Yeah.
doing stuff.
No,
Good
now
point.
it's very professionally done.
Barbecue in the
with
courtyard.
scheduled meetings.
Yep.
And yes, there'll be a reception, but it'll just be sort of a normal reception as
Nice.
you've been to.
Yeah.
Where, they have a
Absolutely.
couple hors d'oeuvres or something. But no, it was pretty wild back in the day. Not that I would know.
No, of course
All right,
not.
Steve, I have one last question before we call it a night. But if you, with all of your political experience and being in office and the journey that you've taken, what advice do you have for anybody that's interested in being in the political atmosphere here in Palm Beach County?
Or Broward.
Yeah, well, and I've been asked that question a lot over the years. So I would recommend two things. One is to be on a city or county board.
Yes.
And get of any kind. I mean, obviously there are boards that are more intense than others. The Planning and Zoning Board is a very intense board.
That one scares me.
Correct, it is a scary board because I was on P&Z for 2 years or 2 or 3 years. You get the development in its rawest form
And
before
it's
any
very technical.
compromises are made.
Yeah.
And also to volunteer on a political campaign so that you get a good understanding of what it entails. How many candidates do you know who have not been involved in any campaign, become a candidate, and wonder wonder where those checks from people that I just thought when I announced my candidacy
They just start flowing in.
coming in. No, you actually have to have a budget and a fundraising plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just the finance side. Of course, the organizational side is also very detailed.
And the comm side. And
So
all that.
those are the two pieces of advice that I would give.
That's awesome. Thank
I
you
love
so
that.
much. Any closing thoughts? Anything that you want our audiences to know, or to how to find you, or update, or
Usually people can find me, so I
Never fear.
never give out my information because they know where to find me. If it's important enough, they'll find me.
They'll find
no
you.
problem.
Yes,
I like
and I am not currently in public office, so please do not find me to fill potholes.
Or could complain about the price of the
Beach pass.
That was just general venting. That was
I-
general venting.
People sometimes realize that.
I do, before we close, I want to mention one thing that I've had a couple questions that people have asked. So I want to educate our audience on, Trump is doing a lot of appointments to cabinet members, for cabinet members. And a lot of those appointments are coming from Florida because why not?
Blueprint.
We're awesome.
We're awesome.
And so the question that we're seeing a lot in a lot of the chat is what happens for those seats that a lot of them were just elected and so forth. So I just kind of want to give a quick overview on that, if that's okay. So it'll trigger, if it's a congressional seat that's being held, it'll trigger a special election. So once that whole process is done, then the governor will work with the Secretary of State's office to trigger a special election for wherever that is. And so if you are in a district, so pay attention. This is not our area so much because I don't think anyone from down here has been appointed, but
Not yet.
Not yet. You never know. But if
Because it's
you
not just cabinet positions.
yeah,
I mean, there are many
tons of
appointments.
jobs,
Yeah.
tons of jobs. So pay attention because it could trigger a whole cascade waterfall of special elections all over the state. So if you have friends or family that are in areas in other parts of Florida, tell them pay attention because they don't want to miss, electing their representative if it goes to a special election. But if in the case of Marco Rubio, so because he's a senator, that doesn't trigger a special election in the way that a congressional seat would. It'll trigger an appointment. So Governor DeSantis will appoint someone to take that seat as the senator for the next 2 years until the next general election, which is in 2026, at which time it'll be a special election.
Because his seat's not up then.
Correct, because his
But
seat
it
is
will
not
be
up in 2028. So we'll be on the ballot in 2026
And 2028.
and 2028. So then whoever gets elected in 2026 will hold it for 2 years, and then it'll go for full normal election in 2028. So it's a whole little process.
And to
for that one.
piggyback off of paying attention, the best way to get notified that there's an election coming up is to re-up for your vote by mail ballot.
Yes.
Because everything's being reset now.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point, too. So everything's being reset. So if you got to vote by mail ballot in the last cycle, you have to re-request for the next the next cycle.
Or as
for
I
next
read in a
year's.
headline, millions of Florida vote by mail ballots vanish. It's like, they reset.
They reset.
by state law.
That's how that works. The reporter needs to do a little more research.
Yes. And so it resets after the general election, and we're still yet to determine in Palm Beach County, if you do your request right now, if it's
there a
still
period?
good, or if
Yeah.
it has to be after the first of the year. So I'm waiting on clarification.
Do
of
it in
that.
January.
Yeah. So
Yep.
January 1st.
I did mine just to kind of see, and so just kind of.
So I won't do mine. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that sounds like a
It'll
good
be, we'll be
plan.
the
So-
we'll be the test runs.
Yeah.
So, and then also for December, our as Abby mentioned, December 5th is our episode, and then December 19th will be our final episode of the year.
Guest on the 5th, my state senator, and Senate Minority Leader.
Yes,
Jason
minority. It's going to be an interesting.
It'll be an interesting conversation.
conversation.
So
So
come with your questions. Come with your chats.
Yeah. Sorry, I will miss that episode. I have a prior engagement, but I will be sure to watch and make my comments accordingly. Anything else? Any closing statements? We're good?
All right.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Eat
happy
lots of food.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, X, and Facebook at We The Locals. Check us out on the website at WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. You'll find all of our channels and links. And also, if you want to sponsor, have any questions, want to suggest guests to the show, you can email us at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. Have a great night, everybody, and be sure to stay local.
Bye.
Bye.